Let's go ahead and get to it. First, we're going to talk to someone from the UK. We're talking to Conan the Barber. Conan the Barber, you are live on Truth Wanted. What's up?
Hey, Dan and Danner.
We got two Dans. Like I said, I'll take on the moniker of Don tonight. I think that's only fair.
So you're Don, and he's Dan. Okay, cool.
Yes, we'll do that.
I mean, how are you guys today?
We're doing good. How about yourself?
Fine, thank you. Not bad.
Awesome. What do you got for us?
Well, you might remember me, Dan. I emailed you a few weeks ago about sentientism, aliens, and the future of humanity.
Yes, I do remember your email. For context, for those who don't know, or maybe you want to explain what sentientism is, so we can kind of get everybody on the same page here.
Okay, yeah. So sentientism really is the idea that all sentient life should be given equal moral consideration and value, which includes all animals, including humans, aliens, potentially artificially created sentient beings as well. So that's the kind of so that includes. I mean, I myself, most sentientists are vegan, as am I, and I think that's the sort of basis of it. So it's kind of like humanism, but for all sentient beings, I suppose.
How do you determine what's a sentient? How do you determine what's sentient and what isn't?
It's a great question. What do you think, Conan?
Yeah. Okay.
Should I say Conan, by the way? It's got two O's.
Yeah, Conan.
Okay, cool. All right.
Thanks. So, I mean, I would consider a sentient being is a being that has the capacity to suffer and has the capacity to experience itself subjectively. I suppose that's my loose definition.
And how do you know when a being other than a person can do that?
Well, okay. So I mean, if you take an animal, a non-human animal, and you poke it with a hot iron, it's gonna jump away from it, and it's gonna probably make some noise and feel pain. So I feel that's a good indicator.
Do you know that some plants can do that too? You can see plants recoil from injury as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think that's probably correct, but I don't know if it's just that. I think there's probably more to being sentient than just feeling pain.
Yeah.
So I suppose, I think I think that's probably something that we still need to figure out. I guess what is a sentient.
I agree with you, Conan. So if you follow me on Twitter, I've kind of adopted this label for myself as well, for a couple of reasons. Since I kind of started doing the vegan thing, I've been a lot more interested in animal ethics and what that looks like. And when I was first introduced to this idea of sentientism, it kind of makes sense. First, when we talk about the aliens and robots bit first, and then we'll talk about the animals. Okay. So the aliens thing totally makes sense. If we meet other alien life and they behave exactly like us, can think like us, have the capacity to meet us, then they're probably intelligent. They're probably sentient, and we would want to give them the same respect that we would want them to give us, right? So hopefully they don't treat us like ants and they crush us, and we wouldn't want to do the same to them. So I think that makes sense. I think that's.
I can't believe you guys are trying to rob me of the opportunity to eat an alien.
I mean, I don't. People listen. If aliens came out as a thing, there's going to be websites where that's probably going to be a featured topic.
Honestly, I feel that if aliens are a thing and they come here, we're the ones that are going to get eaten, not the other way around.
Probably, yeah.
I'm going to eat them back. It'll be my goal. I got to eat me an alien. That sounds like a unique experience.
Yeah,
I suppose. I mean. That leads into. I mean, I suppose it leads into a little bit of what I was gonna hopefully talk about, was the kind of, if aliens do exist, and I think they do. I mean, they probably do. The odds seem to be stacked, for it, I suppose. So, if aliens turned up tomorrow, and would they? I mean, I suppose the first thing would be, would they respect us as other sentient beings? Would they give us the same rights that we would hope that they would give us? And because hopefully they wouldn't just arrive and just start eating us and using us as slaves, because that could be a possibility.
Yes.
And I suppose the problem. I mean, I suppose the converse, the other side of that is that as humans, if we start going out into the universe, what would stop us from, if we found life on another planet, what would stop us from eating that planet or eating those animals, experimenting on them, dissecting them? We don't have a lot of respect for sentient beings on our own planet. So why would we, why would we respect?
Yeah, no, I get you there. We're already, we can't even handle nationalism. Like extraterrestrialism is just going to be a whole other problem that we have to deal with for sure. But I want to continue addressing this, because the sentientism thing is three-pronged. One is the alien stuff. I think we both agree on that, and that's why I like the sentientist label, because it's kind of an expansion on humanism. Because most humanist definitions I've read don't really say a lot about aliens. So sentientism does. So that's cool. The other part is AI. So this is number 2. AI.
Yeah.
This you can convince some people on. Some people might be sketched out. But it is my belief. It is my belief that we will develop AI enough to a point where we're going to have trouble distinguishing it from human beings. I think.
Right.
In some
now
ways,
I can't eat an AI. You guys are stopping me. You're not letting me eat anything anymore.
Why must you eat everything?
Time will tell if I'm right on that, or if that's just too science fiction. But if we come to that point, hypothetically, then I think we have to associate rights with that being. So that's kind of a weird thing to think about. Yeah. It's kind of null right now because we're not there yet. So, whatever happens. If it does come up, you'll know which side I'm on, I guess, at least in this Blade Runner scenario. But the number 3 thing is the animals. Okay, so that's probably the most hottest of the 3, because obviously people have a lot of different opinions on what qualifies as a sentient being. I think this is obviously it's an ongoing conversation that we're still having to develop, because you can take the solipsistic route and you can say, I know that I experience pain, but I don't know if Dan experiences pain because I'm not feeling it. So I as far as I know, he may not feel anything. So I should be able to do what I want with it. And it's interesting when you see the history of, Western institutions in particular in treatments of animals, for like lots of experimentations on dogs and like other animals that we consider kind of sacred in our culture. Like if somebody beats a dog on the internet, people flip out. But we've done way worse to dogs on testing and stuff before, that we've just kind of said, well, this is for progress in humanity and stuff. But the truth is, there are still cultures in the world that eat dogs, and billions of dogs go to that purpose. And of course,
now I can't eat dogs.
Well, yeah.
Honestly, you guys,
people also in other countries who find that our lack of disrespect for cows to be abhorrent, because they treat cows as sacred. So we do have these kind of cultural ideas of which animals are okay to eat and which ones aren't. And I think as we continue to develop globally, this conversation is going to go to more people. Obviously, I think that cows should have the same respect that dogs and cats do. And in terms of their level of sentience. But I also think that we have problems with identifying what that means, and maybe neuroscience will help us. But in my opinion, the development of our pain sensors is so similar to that of dogs and cows. It's undeniable to me that they have these sensations. Do they have sensations of dread? Can they talk about the future? Do they have these other kinds of existential ideas? Maybe not, probably not. But that doesn't stop us from treating dogs and cats like royalty in this country either. So it's an interesting ongoing thing.
That's the core of sentientism, is that you give all sentient beings equal moral consideration. Doesn't mean you treat them exactly the same. We wouldn't give dogs the right to vote, or something like that. But I think it's about giving them the moral consideration.
Yeah, I agree.
Makes sense.
I agree. And that's why I have grown to like the label myself. But I've been talking for a bit. I want Dan to chime in with your thoughts here. What do you think?
I feel like it's a very tricky question because like I say, a line needs to be drawn at some point, because if we are going to continue on as a species, we do have to eat stuff. And
it's true.
I honestly, I think that I wasn't being a total dick when I said that plants also like experience something that could be called pain. I think that there's a truth there. The fact is that the way life works is that it consumes each other, and I don't know where to draw that line. So I actually have no beliefs on this point.
Sure.
I get very I just think it's a tricky world, man. I think I have sympathy for that perspective. I think that there's the case is can be made.
Yeah.
And I think it's a reasonable perspective. But I personally eat meat. Not because I don't think that the animals are sentient, but more because I think that it sort of fits in with just how nature works. And I feel like for me, I see lions eating gazelles, and I see, various critters eating other various critters, and I don't really separate myself from critterdom. So I do, I eat meat. Yeah. And, there are moral questions, and I have those moral questions.
Yeah.
But then I think about, you kill one cow and you feed a whole bunch of people. And then, as a thresher goes through a wheat field, it kills, 34 voles that don't even get eaten. They just get killed, or mice or whatever. And it's not like that. Like, one vole's life is less special than a cow's life just because there's a size difference. It's all just too much for me, I think. I think I've tried to really wrap my head around the morality of the thing, and in the end, I accept myself as a part of nature, and a predator at that. And so that's where I am now.
Yeah,
I make no promises that I will stay.
This is what I've learned since I've started to explore this, because the saying in this country, at least, is you don't want to talk about politics and you don't want to talk about religion. Those are the two most controversial things. There's a third thing to this category, and it's food. I've found that when you talk about people's food, the same kind of mechanisms of defensiveness that come up, and I'm not talking about you in particular, Dan. I'm just talking about it in general. When I have these conversations, I find myself in that same place where, like it's a challenging thing for people to deconstruct it, and people feel very seriously about this topic. So I personally enjoy talking about it now that I've been able to kind of read up more about it, and
oh sure, now that you're a vegan more. and you can take that's right snooty high road. Yeah, you're happy to talk about it.
I'm a bad vegan right now. I have not been following as probably as well as I was this time last year. But I'm not about perfection at this point. I think perfection maybe is the direction, but it may not be a destination that's feasible for everybody. Without making this call go on for too long, I want to give Conan. I keep saying Conan. It's Conan the chance to respond as well. Yeah,
yeah. I think I get your point, Dan, and I suppose, the sentientist position is not about perfection. I think it's about nature. Being part of nature is not about zero suffering or zero harm. It's about we're at a place in our technology and our abilities to provide for our own diet and our own needs, that we can get to a position where we can reduce it to a much lower level. There's a huge difference between farming agricultural vegetables and plants, from that but to factory farmed chickens and cows that are kept in horrendous conditions. Let's be honest. You wouldn't put your worst enemy in that kind of situation.
And agriculture is going to be used to feed those animals too. So plants are going to be going.
Of course. That's a huge thing to say, is that most of the agricultural plants that we grow is really to feed animals, which we're then going to eat. Why don't we just eat the plants? And I think it's not about taking us out of nature. It's about living as part of nature, and we've got to a point where we can provide for ourselves. That doesn't mean that we have to have these situations where animals are put in these horrendous conditions. I suppose that's for me. I think for me, it's about the reduction of harm. It's not about eliminating harm, because I think, you drive your car down the road, flies might get hit by, you might run over a bug or something like that. There's never going to be a situation where there's going to be zero harm. But I think, trying to bring it to a point where you can at least reduce it to, trying to get suffering to a minimum is the goal, I suppose. That's where I'm coming from, I suppose.
I see nobility in that. In that goal, I may approach it from a different place, but I think we can all agree that there's no reason for animals to needlessly suffer. So if we can minimize that, however we end up doing it, that's going to be a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you there. And it's funny too, Dan, you mentioned that the moral high ground thing. It's like, this is why I genuinely feel very awkward when I talk about this on the show. If only I'm grateful to all the vegan callers who have called in the show, because they definitely played a part in making my own personal decisions there. So I'm thankful for all you guys who have challenged me on this, because I think that helped me with that thinking. But for myself too, it's just, I wish people could see it when I talk about it, at least, as more just like, I'm just trying to be more consistent with my values. Like, this is just me trying to fit the square peg in the round hole, because I think everybody can agree, like, our animal ethics is kind of iffy at best for the broad majority of human civilization, right? Like, it's definitely changed. We've had different standards and progress change over the years. Like modern people don't treat animals the same way that people did 2,000 years ago, or even 100 years ago, or 50 years ago. And what is the result of that? What are the principles guiding that? And I think I've at least found a candle to that. But anyway, you were going to say something there too, Conan. So go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, I think that in 100 years or so, people will look back and at us, at our society, let's as long as humans are still here, but we'll look back on ourselves and we'll kind of be, wow, did we really treat animals like that? Is that how we lived our lives? I mean,
I wonder that too.
And I think we need to kind of think about the future, because we're not just thinking about humanity as the next 100 years. I mean, hopefully we're thinking about humanity in the next 10,000 years or 1,000 years.
10,000 years, we'll see.
You are way more optimistic than I am, my friend.
Yeah. Well,
sure.
You have to.
I've met people.
Then what's the point?
We're not doing great.
Now,
Yeah. Conan, I appreciate this call. Thank you so much for talking about it. I'm glad you emailed about it too. Thanks so much, and I hope to hear from you again. Very thoughtful call. I of course like that, because I like talking about that stuff. But I don't know, Dan. I don't know. This isn't something you're at least you're not known for talking about. So I'm curious about your thoughts. In summary,
I it's one of the places where I don't know where to land. And I am a motivated thinker on this, because I'm a great lover of meats in terms of food. So yeah, I mean, I have some motivated thinking on that. But I don't, where I have landed when I've considered the questions is that, I mean, at very least, we should be revolutionizing how we're treating the animals. You know, even if we continue to eat them, which currently that's where I'm at. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why they should be raised in horrific conditions, treated cruelly, and then slaughtered in an ugly fashion. When surely there are ways to do it that are not that.
Sure. Well, I'm glad we can agree on that point there for sure.